consider unnecessary spending in Webster County? I think that's been brought up a couple times as a general budget question.
Yeah, I'd love to know what that is. I mean, we meet with our department heads, they put a budget together, they come in, do a preliminary presentation, and then we sit down and look at what our revenues are gonna be. As a lot of people know, House File 718 came through last year, and we sat and worked with our legislators to understand that. We have a great working relationship, and we have great representation down in Des Moines, and they keep us notified of what's going on. House File 718 limited our ability for growth, and we're working within those guidelines. So for somebody to say that there is some unnecessary spending, I'd be very curious to know what that is. We have been diligent and frugal in what we do with taxpayer dollars, maintaining a reserve that is available when needed, as Supervisor Thode, in case of emergencies. During COVID, we had to dip into our reserves. We also build those reserves up for projects so we don't have to go into debt for these projects. We try to plan ahead and have an adequate reserve and a very appropriate capital improvement plan.
Thank you. And I should have said this is the last question, then we'll have closing comments.
Yeah, I guess I'd say, pens, papers, a lot of those things. I know that the board has looked to cut back on it. Doreen in the auditor's office has, sent a lot of emails out versus paper in the mail. Some things like that to look at to cut spending is critical, and I think that's a good step to help kind of that unnecessary burden from the taxpayer as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Chairman, like my friend said, and looking at our needs and what our needs and wants are here in the county and protecting the taxpayers' money as much as possible, that should be a priority.
As Supervisor Campbell advised, we do cut. We've made some cuts, we've had discussions. I've had the sheriff mad at me at one meeting because of a discussion of trying to see what we could do to cut back. We've told secondary roads that there's equipment that they can't get this time, and to be prepared that we're gonna be running into financial issues. So I don't think we've got too much fat to be cutting there anywhere, but we do have enough that if an emergency happens, but we can cover it.
So having worked up in the bush in Alaska, we often had to find ways to reduce what we were spending our money on due to the fact that it just was prohibitively expensive to ship things up there. So what you need to do is you look at the small things that you can reduce. You try to go paperless. You try to communicate with each other without having to get as many of the small materials. You try to put everything that you're doing out there digitally instead of hard copy. Whatever you can do to save a penny will save you in the long run. You gotta sit down with your budget, you have to look at it, and you look at the small things on the margins that you can get rid of and you don't really need. And sometimes that is hard because there's always somebody who thinks that it's better to read it on paper than to read it by email. There's always somebody who thinks it's better to have a pen that says Webster County on it than just a pen that doesn't. So you just have to focus on where you can save money and listen to your constituents to see where it is they want you to spend it. Thank you. Oh. Well, as I said, I worked up in the bush of Alaska.